Howdy ho everybody, welcome back to the Roost for another IRL video. It's spring, so I thought I'd do another one of these walk-arounds like I did earlier, or I guess later last year, however you want to look at it. I did in the fall. Thought I'd do a spring walk-around video. So I've got my trusty companion Buddy here. There he is. Hey Buddy, you want to say hi? There's Buddy. Say hi to the folks. Ooh, how you doing? Yep, Buddy's doing good. I thought I'd just walk around and look at some of the interesting stuff that's going on. It's starting to rain just a little, but maybe it won't be too bad. This is the day of the total solar eclipse, so that means April 8th, 2024. But if you look at my sky, I'm not in the path of totality. It would be slightly more than 90% where I'm at, but it doesn't make any difference because it is extremely cloudy right now, and it's going to stay that way all day. I have seen total solar eclipses before, so I don't feel too bummed out, but I really hope that everybody who traveled and spent money to get someplace to see it, I hope they get to see something today, because it is a life-changing experience. It really is. Okay, so we're out here down in front of the house next to one of the old barns, and one of the first things we can see, I'll tell you, if I keep doing these, I really need to think about getting a gimbal too, because I know this is shaking some, but one of the first things we can see here is this tree that's blooming. This is a sassafras tree. The roots of the sassafras you can use to make sassafras tea, although the government says that'll kill you. But I've been drinking it for years and I'm fine. Lots of people around here, a lot of hill people, they really like to drink sassafras tea, so I don't know. Probably won't hurt you too bad. But sassafras has beautiful little blooms on it. Before the leaves come out, it will bloom out. You can see them there. And you can see they're all over the tree. So these actually make really nice ornamental trees, even though they're native. They don't get very big. This is not the maximum size, but they usually stand around 20-25 feet tall at the most, so big on the side of an ornamental tree. But they have this nice curly and bent limbs, you can see, so they're really pretty in the winter. And they're pretty in the spring, as you see. They have nice foliage. They have 4 different kinds of leaves on them. 4 different leaf shapes. If you've never seen that, maybe when the leaves come out and I do a summertime walk around, we'll talk about sassafras leaves, but that's a neat little tidbit. And in the fall, they have beautiful foliage, usually red and orange and gold colors. So they're just a great tree all around. This one here is growing up in the fence corner. But there it is. Now, speaking of overgrowth, there's something else kind of interesting over here that a lot of people will no doubt find neat. I'm sure you've heard of morel mushrooms. Well, around here we call them hickory chickens, or some people call them dryland fish. But hickory chickens can grow in all different types of environments. We're kind of at the tail end of the hickory chicken season, but there's a bunch of them growing here under this old tree. I thought I'd show you what they look like in case you've never seen one. I'll make sure I'm not stepping on anything here, because there could be some right underfoot. They blend in pretty well. Those of you who are, make sure we're in focus here, who are real keen to seeing morels probably already see one. Let me get in kind of close here so you can see what they look like. There's one. Do you see it? It's right in the middle of the screen there. That's a morel mushroom or hickory chicken. You see there's another one laying down over there. Here's another one. Those are quite the delicacy. There's a bunch of them growing around here. And you can take those, a lot of people will roll them in flour and fry them in lard. I like to take them and you cut them in half because they're hollow inside. Oh, here comes the dog. I'll tell you something about a dog. Don't be near anything you don't want a dog to trample when it comes around, because they will trample it every time. Come on, let's get out of the mushroom patch. Anyhow, you can cut them in half and roll them in flour with a little bit of salt and pepper. Fry them in lard. But I like to just fry them in a little bit of butter and serve them with a real good steak, like a ribeye or something like that. Yeah, so that's the morel mushroom. This is an old apple tree. They love to grow under old apples. So, yeah. Again, this is the tail end of the season. If you know nothing about morels, you would know that, or you should know, that anytime you see them growing on the north side of a tree or a bank, which is where we're at now, we're on the north side of this, that means that you're at the tail end of the season. Early in the season, which around here is mid-March, mid to late March, depending on weather, early in the season, they'll be on the south side of trees, south-facing banks, that kind of thing, places that warm up early. But since these are on the north side, that tells us that here we are, starting the second week of April, that we are at the tail end of the morel season. Let's see. Where should we go now? The garden is down there in the blackberry patch. Make sure we're focused. And you can see the old plum tree blooming on the right side of the screen. Here's an old rose bush. It's not blooming yet, but it's putting out nicely. This is an old Ramblin Rose. It'll be a while before it blooms. And the bird bath. The bird's been bathing a lot lately. Looks like I need to clean that out. Cleaned it out yesterday. They've already messed it up. And here's one of my birdhouses. I've got these all around. Chickadees usually live in there. Carolina chickadees. All kinds of different birds will check it out. But it's usually Carolina chickadees that live in there. Now, you notice there's a block on the front of the birdhouse. Why is that there? Well, that's there because the red-bellied woodpeckers will go in there and eat the eggs or possibly the young. They don't do it all the time, but occasionally they do, I guess when they need that in their diet for whatever reason. So putting that extra block there keeps the woodpeckers from getting in and getting the babies. Down here on this old rock wall, I've got some Vinca minor growing, or creeping myrtle, sometimes people call it that. It's called that because you see here how it's coming out into the yard. This has been here for years, but we've changed some of the way we mow our yard here, so the creeping myrtle is finally a creeping. And there's a hosta. That's some old hostas that came from my great Aunt Cleo's place back in the late 70s, early 80s, sometime in there. Now, I don't want to step on the myrtle, but I wanted to show you the flower. It's real pretty. You get down in there, you can see that. How's that? Isn't that pretty? Yeah, Vinca minor, or creeping myrtle. A lot of times you'll see that in old graveyards. And this is a burning bush over here in the fall that is covered with scarlet berries and bright fiery red foliage. It's also a little bit invasive. You can see a little one here on this side of the wall. All these, there's several bushes actually here. They're quite large. That's the burning bush. They all started from that one right over there. It's in the center of the screen. And they're all over, they're in the woods and all over the place now. I try to curb them when I can find them, but it's not always in the cards. But anyway, here's some more hostas coming up. There's an old pump here, disused, but nonetheless an old pitcher pump there. Let's see. Oh, it looks like Ted's out. Ted's finally up. Sometimes he sleeps in. He's got bad knees. So he's out wandering the field, probably out looking for the bathroom. Now, here's Biggie. We had biscuits and gravy this morning, didn't we, Big? Yeah, we sure did. That's one of the reasons I'm out walking around this morning is I'm so full of biscuits and gravy, I'm about to pop. You gotta walk to get the bowels going, you know. And I guess that's all I'll say about that. Anyhow, over here's another birdhouse. Tree swallows usually live in that birdhouse. There's probably some in there now, so I'm not gonna bother them. The reason I know they're in there is because they're not flying around in the air. They're very conspicuous when they're flying around. So, this time, it's a little chilly this morning. The bugs probably aren't flying yet, and that's what they eat. Here's my weather station. That's been a good one. That is an ambient weather brand weather station. I got that in 2020, December 2020, and have had zero problems with it since. It's worked very, very well. I just have it mounted to an old cedar pole here. The higher up you can get them, the better. But this is a nice compromise between accurate readings and being able to get up and clean it when I need to, because the rain gauge is this bucket here. There's a little like a spoon on a hinge kind of thing in there that's sort of like a seesaw type thing. When that fills with water, it dumps, and the machine, it's very small. It doesn't take very many raindrops for it to fill and then dump. And the sensor just counts the number of times it dumps, and that's how it calculates how much rain has fallen. That needs cleaned out every now and then. The temperature sensor is inside this. This is a radiation shield here so that you get a accurate air temperature, even if the sun's shining on it. Of course, that's the wind direction. There's not much wind right now. And let's turn the light there. You can see it a little better. The anemometer, you can see there's just a very, very light breeze coming from the east right now. The arrow points to the direction the wind is coming from, not the direction it is blowing in. Important to know. And in the middle here, you can't see it, but there's an ultraviolet sensor there that tells you how much ultraviolet we're being exposed to at any given instant. And it also measures what the apparent solar output is, based, factoring in clouds and water vapor and that sort of thing, which is useful for not only knowing when you're going to get a sunburn. There goes Pepper after something. But knowing if you're thinking about putting a solar power station in, you can use the data from this, and there's a panel on the wall in the house, and it also records everything onto a computer program. So the weather data for every day since this thing has been put up is stored inside on the house, and you can access it on the internet also. This is one of the weather stations that they use on weatherunderground.com. It's linked to that as a citizen science kind of thing. Anyhow, here's the old lilac bush. This original lilac, the one this came from Old Lady Richardson over in Mouth of Wilson, Virginia, many, many years ago, and the rain's starting to pick up now. It's just now starting to open up. But this is a start off of at least 150-year-old lilac bush. Smells great. You can imagine, if you know lilac, you can imagine what I'm smelling right now. It's just now starting to get going real good. Yeah. And there's some young ones back here. I let these grow because some people were wanting to come and dig them because they wanted some. You see, they're super close to the woodshed. And you can hear. Oh, they're after a rabbit. I don't know if I was fast enough. I don't know if you saw the rabbit. Ted's on it, buddy. And they're out of sight. Sounds like the dogs up in the woods probably flushed it. And then Ted got the benefit. I doubt he caught it. Ted, like I say, has got bad knees. Anyhow, people never did come, but I left it here just to get a few more flowers. When they get a little bigger, I'll cut them down so they don't mess up the woodshed. But lilac reproduces prolifically. You can see all around here on the ground, those little ones there on the left side, those would be good to dig up. And there's small ones all around the base of these now much larger ones. But yeah, oh boy, that smells so good. I'm telling you, there's nothing like a lilac. One of my favorite scents to wear. I like to wear fragrances from time to time, and my favorite one, you might laugh when you hear this, but is I'm gonna say it anyway, is Lilac Vegetal. It's a really, really old barbershop style fragrance that I really like. And it's not as floral as you might think. It is made with lilacs. It's made in France, or at least with French lilacs. I don't know about that. It is cheap, but it's an old-fashioned scent. It always reminds me of my childhood, and it just makes me feel real good when I wear it. You know, Lilac Vegetal. If you've never heard of it, you should look into it. It's super good. It is a lilac-based fragrance, but it also has some vetiver and a little bit of musk, and it's more earthy. It's a very masculine fragrance, even though it is floral-based. I'm not an expert in fragrance, but I know what I like when I smell it, you know. Anyhow, let's see. What else have we got going on around here? Here's an old bone the dog's been gnawing on. That's about as exciting as anything, I guess. Here's the old cedar tree. That'll make you itch if you're allergic. Here's the pampas grass. This grows up into a great big plume, and it has a big fuzzy top on it, and the seeds, where the seeds are. And there's actually a, you can see here in the middle where it's sort of, I need to get in here and thin this out or do something. I didn't realize it was quite so dyed back in the middle, but you see there's a big depression there in the middle. Well, that's where Biggie sleeps. Yeah, when this grows up, it grows up about 6-7 foot tall, maybe 8 feet tall. It grows up real high, and when it's thick too. So when it's fully grown, you can't see what's in the middle of it. Biggie goes in there and sleeps. There, rascal. And you can see he's got quite the bed there. Yep, that's Biggie's bed. He's got a lot of little hiding places around. Now it's starting to rain a little bit more. Speaking of dogs and hiding places, this building here, this is a dog house. It's got this gutter on it. This is a dog house. There's there used to be 4 separate sort of apartments in it. The middle one, I got in the middle one and knocked a wall out between them here not long ago, because Biggie liked to get in there, and he's real big. And this was made for scent hounds, hound dogs. They're not super big. Biggie's much bigger than they are. So I knocked that out, thinking he might like one big one to kind of sprawl out in, which he does. But he still gets into this one over here from time to time. But these two here are actually just one unit now. And nobody much gets in this one here, but that's because probably because I have stuff here. That's a good half a bale of straw there. And let's see, these are self-feeders. I don't use these anymore, but you'd fill them up with dog food and they're gravity fed. There's 3 of them there. Let me see if I can kind of show you what it's like inside there without crawling in myself. It's starting to rain on me. I can get in here under the porch anyhow. You see there? That's Biggie's deluxe condo there. It looks pretty comfy, don't it? Can you see? And the walls they're not solid walls inside. That way the dogs can see each other, and there's good ventilation, you know, and then the back, the air can get in through there. And you know, when we had the dogs living in here all the time, the hound dogs, we started off putting a tarpaulin around that back in the winter and try to keep that north wind off of them, but they didn't like that. We put that up there and they wouldn't sleep in it, so we left it, and it's been like that ever since. But yeah, this is the doghouse. It's got a nice porch on it. So let's get back here a little bit to where you can see it. There you go. There's the full effect. Yeah, there's the old doghouse. I'd say there's people around here who live in a worse house than that. But anyhow, let's see what else we got going on. That rain's probably not going to get us too bad. Here's a little bird feeder we made out of Clorox jugs. They love this. It's not squirrel proof, but that's fine. Yeah, just put bird seed in there. Looks like I need to put some in there. And this is just an old auger bit. That's what that is. Used to have the mailbox on that years ago. Okay. Looks like it's about time to rake up some pine straw too. Let's go over here and see. What was that? I heard something behind me. It'd be a weird time of day for there to be a snake out, but that's what it sounded like. I don't worry too much about snakes. There's no need in it. Very rarely would you see any kind of dangerous snake around here. They usually keep up in the hills a little bit. We're only about 1,500, 1,600 feet elevation here, so. Now I'll tell you something that is getting to be a rare sight in these parts that used to be real common is the dogwood. Climate change, I believe, is killing them out. There's one here, you can see just a few little blooms on it. I mean, that's pitiful. That's pitiful. They used to be everywhere. And this is the time they bloom. Let me see. I don't want to be too harsh on the tree, but I do want you to see the flower. If you've never seen a dogwood, I know I have viewers from all around the country and around the world even. May have never seen a dogwood, especially if you don't live in the U.S. And isn't that a pretty flower? It's said to represent Christ's crucifixion. The dogwood, they say, was the wood they used for the cross, but I kind of doubt that. But anyway, it's a way to remember the crucifixion. The crown of thorns is the thing in the center, and the little red dots, if you can see that, right on the edge of the petals there where that recess is, that's to represent the blood, and the white is the water that came from Christ, blood and water, and also the holiness. And we'll let him back up there gently now. Yeah, so the dogwood, it's actually the state flower of Virginia, which is the state I live in. And it's a shame to see it go. The woods, for the most part, are still slumbering. It is starting second week of April now. This is the 8th, I said. Some trees are awake. Obviously the dogwood, the poplars, the maples. Some of the oaks have first started to bloom. And the sassafras, of course. There's another sassafras right over there. You see those yellow flowers. So things are starting to wake up. The wild roses you see here. And over here, you know, I'm all about the berries, right? Here are some wild raspberries. You see these I'm not sure how clear this is on the camera, but these purple looking canes that are coming up out of the ground that have the bright green foliage on them, those are wild black raspberries. You can see them growing up the tree there. I've been cultivating these a little bit while I stay cultivating, keeping the weeds out of them for a few years. This rose bush is starting to gain on me. I need to get up here and get this out of here so the raspberries can do good. Wild raspberry is another plant that's suffering from climate change in my area. So I'm doing the best I can to keep them alive and well. And I started here with just one cane coming up out of the ground. And all those bright green arching foliage plants you see, that's all raspberry. So they're doing pretty good. Now down here is their distant cousin. These dark looking straighter canes. These are wild blackberries. And these have thorns, so you have to be careful. If I can get it to focus, come on. Yeah. Too much to ask for? Maybe. Anyway, I'll just hold the camera back here. But you can see. They are definitely awake. There you go. They're definitely awake. They have not bloomed yet. They'll bloom in May. We call that Blackberry Winter. The little cool spell we're having now is called Dogwood Winter. It's the cool spell when the dogwoods bloom. It's not an exact thing, but it's a rough correlation. Come on, focus. There you go. Yeah, Blackberry Winter is usually the last one. It's in mid-May. There's a old bit of lore that says that every time it thunders in February, there'll be frost in May on that same date. Well, the last thunder we had in February was on the 29th of February. So if there's frost on the 29th of May, we're going to have a real slow start to summer. To put that in perspective, I usually plant my tomatoes out in the garden by the 24th of April. So we'll see how bad it's going to be. I don't know. Okay, we're fuzzy. There we go. We'll see what happens, won't we? All right. What else? What else can we look at? We could walk up through the woods. That was the way I went during the fall. You see, at this time of year, there's significantly less undergrowth. And I think I'll save that for another time. Let's walk around back behind here and see what we can find. I'm trying not to shake you around too much. This is back where people can't see. We've got a lot of junk back here now. This is all like gardening stuff, wire and things like that I use for cages, and just scrap metal. You know, you just don't throw anything out when you live up in the hills like this. That right there, that is the base for an old bathtub, like a clawfoot tub. If you don't have the feet on it, you put it on that base. That's what that is. Here is a bunch of old mowing sickles for like a mowing machine to cut hay. That's what that is. All those teeth on it. Got to be careful of those. You can maim yourself and have to go get yourself a tetanus shot if you ain't careful. Oh, and this, you'll love this. This is the cover off of an old wood grain microwave. Isn't that nice? Yeah. So I'm a pack rat, confirmed. Here's the bathtub. There's the old tub. And we use it to hold. Right now it's holding pipes and cedar poles. It's one of those things that, you know, it's not good enough. It's not really good for much, but how do you just throw away a bathtub, right? And we could Indiana Jones it and get under that in case there's a bomb. Well, that was a refrigerator he got into, wasn't it? Anyhow. What else? Well, these irises are blooming. They're a little early, but they catch sun right here on the sunny days. It shines in, warms them up. Aren't they pretty? I'll get in here and get us a peek. Yeah. These make good cut flowers. They do well in a vase or a vase. depending on where you're from. Dad brought one in this morning and it had a spider on it, so I brought the spider back out here, and she's probably still living in that flower. I'm not going to bother her. I'd say she's still in there. That's where I left her. The one on the upper left. It's a fairly intricate flower. If you've never seen irises before. Well, I tell you what, my phone is telling me I'm running low on battery, so I think I'm going to call it a video. Thanks for joining me here today. I hope you enjoyed the little walk around. And I hope you have a great day wherever you are, whenever you are. If you're watching the eclipse today, I hope you have a clear sky. Be sure to like the video if you liked it. Leave me a comment. And consider subscribing too, if you would. That helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate it. For now, I wish you well wherever you are, whenever you are. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.